I'm joined by Robin Rathore of Bamboo Auctions, the online auction platform. And Robin and I thought it might be interesting this time to talk a little bit about the psychology of buying at auction, because it's actually really interesting. Robin, first of all, if we look at somebody going the traditional route of an estate agent, there's a very different kind of psychology there, isn't there, to actually buying at auction?
Yeah, if you go by private treaty with an estate agent, I think the fundamental difference is the way that a property is priced. So I'm sure everybody knows this, if you've ever sold a property or even bought one, an estate agent will come in and they will give you a market valuation that's generally higher, or that's generally fairly high. And that's great, you know, you're quite happy with that. But the idea is that a buyer might negotiate that price downwards. Now, in an auction, an auctioneer might put that property in for lower, because the idea is that an auctioneer is trying to find 5 buyers, or a number of buyers, to add some competition to how that property is purchased. So with an auction, property prices are going upwards. With private treaty, they're either staying at the asking price or going downwards, generally speaking. Of course, market conditions often have a say in this, but that's the general sort of rule. Now, we did some sort of number crunching, and we found that on average, across the board, properties that are sold through auction sell for £11,000 higher than they might do if they're sold by private treaty. Now, that's interesting because even though the property in a private treaty is guided or listed at a higher price than the property at an auction, the auction one is sold for higher than the private treaty one. So there is a real benefit to selling by auction. Now, I should say this is on average. If you're a buyer, don't be disheartened. If you look hard, you can still find a bargain. But these are average numbers that shouldn't put off a seller.
I think from the buyer's perspective, these are properties that are not in a chain, and very often you'll find that only cash properties that can be purchased for cash are put into auction. So they may have issues, they may be unmortgageable, these kind of things as well. So from the buyer's perspective, it is worth obviously having a look around, seeing what's out there, because we always hear of bargains coming up at auction, but you have to be very good at doing the due diligence to understand that whether it is a bargain or not, or it's going to be an absolute nightmare. But of course, the local auction house who presents the listing on Bamboo, they are there to advise as well, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. And now you can actually go to your local auction house and they will have an auction platform that's powered by Bamboo on their site as well. So there are 2 places that you can find properties. But I should say that it's not just sort of your distressed stock that a buyer might find. You can actually find a lot of other properties. More and more we're seeing private properties, privately owned, sort of normal, in inverted commas, properties coming into the market. And that's simply because sellers are starting to see the benefit of selling by auction, and the benefit of selling by online auction, because of course online you have the benefit of a wider access pool, so a greater number of buyers, more flexibility, more transparency in how it's done. So there's a real sort of audit trail. You can see all the previous bidders and things, and you can see who's placed the bid. It's all anonymous, but you can see that the bids have been placed. But it's also done in your own convenience, so you can sort of, you know, go to work, you can place your bid in your lunch hour. You can also do it when you get home. So there's greater flexibility, and what we're trying to do is encourage more vendors to sell by auction and increase the market share that's enjoyed by the auction sector so far, but as well create an online marketplace where property transactions are fast, they're certain, and they're excellent value for money.
I'm thinking that as a novice property investor, it's very nerve-wracking to attend an auction if you haven't been to one before, if you're not experienced. This may be a good way for more novice investors to start getting into the kind of process of buying through an auction, but they can do it, as you said, from the comfort of their own home in a comfortable environment.
Exactly. I mean, it's well known that a traditional ballroom has sort of an aura of machoism to it, and having the facility to buy online means that you can do it from the comfort and sort of the safety of your own home. You can do it in your own time, and it's a bit more of a considered purchase then. So, you don't have the pressure of putting your hand up to place the bid. You can sort of go away, you can think about it, and you can really make a reasoned bid on a property. Now, that has its benefits for the seller as well. It means that you have committed buyers who are ready, willing, they're able to purchase the property. They've gone through anti-money laundering checks. We carry out checks on all buyers. And it just means that there's greater transparency, greater certainty throughout the entire process.
And I think, of course, at Property Tribes, Nick and I are massive fans of tech and advocates of tech. And really what you're also doing is, transparency is absolutely key here, but also you're streamlining that whole process, aren't you?
Yeah, so for example, in a private treaty sale, if you have a chain-free property and you're selling it by private treaty, I would urge you to consider selling by auction. It's a faster and more efficient way of selling a property, and you could get more than you had hoped for. Now, in a private treaty transaction, when you make your offer, there is no binding agreement on the buyer. There is always a danger that the buyer might drop out, that you might change your mind. There's no certainty in that process whatsoever. Now, personally, the longest I've ever waited to purchase a property, which was actually why Bamboo Auctions originally started, was 10 months. Now, I appreciate that is a bit extreme, but you're looking at around about three or so months to reach exchange. Now, in an auction, you can reach exchange as soon as the hammer falls, and in an online auction, you reach exchange as soon as the timer hits zero. So it's a legally binding exchange. It's a faster, more efficient way of selling a chain-free property.
Well, I really think what you're doing is you're bringing the kind of auction sales channel to the masses. That's what you're doing, because you've made it really simple, you've made it trustworthy, you've made it transparent. And I think we can safely say that we're going to see a lot more properties being bought and sold through this online channel.
I completely agree. Online auctions are a game changer. They are helping to increase the market share that auctions enjoys at the moment. And so far, to give you the statistic, 2% of all property transactions are sold by auction. And what we believe at Bamboo Auctions is that it should be more than that. And there's no reason why it shouldn't. And through an online auction, that is what we're trying to do.
Well, fantastic, and we wish you lots of luck, Robin. And I have to say, Robin came to us and suggested the auction tribe idea, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And basically, I think, what we want to do is expand the auction tribe, get more people engaging with that process, and hopefully Property Tribes members have been given a bit of an edge by being one of the first to hear about this fantastic new way to buy and sell property. Exactly, and I would urge members to sign up onto bambooauctions.com, and you can get notifications on when properties are becoming available. Fantastic. And if you've got any questions, Robin is on hand to answer them, so drop them below the video. Thanks very much, Robin. It's been really interesting talking to you, and it's going to be really exciting to see how this develops. Thanks very much.